Today we're looking at the Flexispot C7 Morpher, which is definitely one of the most feature-packed office chairs I've ever tested. Now on the surface, it might look like your typical mesh office chair, but what really makes it special is the fact that it comes loaded with features I've honestly never seen before. Things like an inflatable lumbar support, a backrest that literally glides with your movements, and some of the most unique armrest adjustments I've ever used. Coming in at $649 for the foam seat version and $669 for the all-mesh version, the C7 Morpher is positioned as Flexispot's premium offering, essentially a higher end version of the C7 Max that we reviewed on the channel before. In this video, I'll be giving you my full review of the Flexispot C7 Morpher after using it for about a month. We'll dive into everything from the build quality and comfort to whether all these fancy features are actually worth the premium price, so by the end, you'll have a clear idea of whether this chair is going to be the right fit for you. But before we dive in, I just want to mention that this video is sponsored by Flexispot, but they are only paying me for my production time, not my opinion. They didn't tell me to say anything good or bad about the chair, and all thoughts and opinions that you're going to hear are completely my own after actually using this chair as my daily driver. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into the review, starting with the design. The C7 Morpher has this futuristic yet professional look that really stands out. The sleek mesh build with those segmented panels creates this structured high-tech vibe that's pretty unique in the office chair space. You've got this minimalist black on metal palette where the matte black mesh really contrasts well with the polished aluminum base, giving it a nice clean executive office style. What really catches your eye is that split backrest design where the upper back and lower back are two completely separate sections. Now this is really popular among mesh office chairs since it's actually meant to emphasize the targeted ergonomic support areas, which we'll get into later. Now when it comes to color options, this chair only comes in black. But black is usually the most popular color when it comes to office chairs anyways, and I really think it keeps the design clean and professional looking. As for versatility, I think this design would fit in pretty much any environment. The black on chrome is a classic look, whether you're setting up for a home office or working in a corporate environment, or even putting together a gaming setup. I think it has that sleek design that's not too gaudy for professional work, but still gives off that futuristic high-tech vibe that would look great in a gaming room. Now when it comes to materials and build quality, the C7 Morpher feels really solid and definitely gives off that premium vibe that you'd expect from a $650 chair. Since it's a mesh chair, it uses a rigid plastic frame that's needed to properly wrap and tension the mesh around. But what really gives off that high-end feel is the good amount of metal throughout the chair, especially in the arms and backrest components. Like I said, it definitely gives off a premium look and feel. For the base, it uses a single piece metal construction, and it has these flat platforms built in that are meant for resting your feet on, which is a really nice touch. It uses a high quality mesh material that feels more fabric-like mesh rather than that kind of standard plasticky feeling mesh that you'll get from some cheaper chairs. It's really smooth and soft to the touch, which makes a big difference in day-to-day comfort. After a month of testing, I haven't experienced any creaking, wobbling, or any stability issues with the chair. Overall, it feels really solid. Now, Flexispot claims a max weight capacity of 380 pounds, though I'd be a bit cautious recommending it to people for that weight, since mesh chairs tend to sag over time if you put too much weight on them consistently. So now let's get into the actual comfort of the chair, starting with the seat. So my version of the C7 Morpher uses a mesh seat, which can be pretty difficult to pull off well, but I've generally been pretty happy with mesh seats on other Flexispot chairs that I've tried. And overall, it is a pretty comfortable seat, though I do have some concerns. Now, because it is a mesh seat, it's naturally going to be pretty firm due to how the mesh needs to wrap around the frame. There is a deep waterfall front edge, which helps prevent your legs from coming into contact with the plastic frame and minimizes the pressure underneath your legs. Now here's where I have a bit of an issue though. Now one design choice that I found pretty odd is that they decided to include a foam pad in the front of the seat. Now when you're sitting in the chair, you'll kind of sink below that mesh, so your legs are essentially resting on top of that foam pad. This creates a creasing effect that can result in pressure buildup underneath your thighs since the pad is kind of digging into your legs. This is actually an older design philosophy that you used to see in most mesh chairs, but lately in newer mesh chairs have been moving away from this approach. Now what I find really strange is that Flexispot actually moved away from this foam pad design on their regular C7 Max mesh version, which is a cheaper chair, and honestly I find that seat more comfortable. Now don't get me wrong, the seat on the C7 Morpher as a whole isn't uncomfortable by any means. The mesh has a really nice soft feel to it, and the waterfall front edge does help mitigate that issue, so it's not terrible. I just think they should have stuck with the design from the C7 Max. Now if you think that the foam pad in the front is going to bother you, or you're on the heavier side, then you might want to opt for the foam seat version of the C7 Morpher instead, since this is typically going to provide better pressure relief, though it's not going to be as breathable as the mesh version. The seat feels really spacious, and the chair definitely feels like it's designed for bigger people. Flexispot recommends it's for people between 5'6" and 6'7". However, like most mesh chairs, this isn't going to be the best choice if you're sitting cross-legged, since your ankles will dig into the hard plastic frame. You also get a seat pan depth adjustment feature that you can access by pulling the tab on the right side. It can extend about 2 inches, which is great for dialing it into your specific leg length. Though it is a pretty deep seat in general, so so if you're under 5'6", then you might need to use a footrest. Now when it comes to the backrest, this is really where the show starts. The mesh backrest uses the same fabric type mesh that feels soft to the touch, it's breathable, and is very comfortable overall. But what makes this chair really special are all the unique features packed into the split backrest design. The C7 Morpher has 3 standout backrest features that I've honestly never seen together on any other chair. First up is what they call the Flex Lean Forward Tilt. So there's a knob on the left rear of the backrest that lets you rotate the upper backrest to tilt forward. This is designed to give you better upper back and shoulder support, and it actually fixes a common issue I have with most split backrest designs, where the lumbar support typically pushes you too far forward and makes it so your upper back and shoulders don't make proper contact with the backrest. I think this is a really unique feature. Another cool feature we have is the Flex Slide Dynamic Backrest feature. This allows the backrest to actually glide with you to keep your spine supported through every shift and stretch. With this feature, you get about 15 degrees of movement. There's a knob on the side that lets you adjust the tension of the sliding mechanism or lock it into place if you don't want to use it. This feature is meant to let the chair move with you as you shift around while maintaining proper back support. I find it works really well when paired with the recline since it gives you some extra range of motion. Now this feature is definitely the main draw that kind of makes this chair stand out, though I wouldn't call it essential or a game changer by any means. It does look really cool though. But moving on, the last unique feature that the C7 Morpher has is the air lumbar support. Now with this feature, you can literally inflate or deflate the lumbar zone to dial in the perfect level of support. You have 2 buttons on the back, one to inflate, which makes it feel more pronounced, and one to deflate. From my experience, it actually makes a pretty significant difference in how the lumbar support feels. And since they're just pockets of air, it feels really comfortable and doesn't dig into your lower back at all. Now this is a really unique feature that I haven't seen on any other chair. The overall lumbar support is pretty pronounced, which is typical for most split design backrests. You also get a ratcheting back height adjustment feature that lets you set the lumbar support to the perfect sweet spot for your height. For the recline, you get a synchro tilt mechanism that gives you a deep 160-degree recline. The recline motion is smooth and pairs really well with that gliding feature of the backrest. In my opinion, it feels really comfortable to recline all the way back, and you can lock yourself in a recline position. There's a tilt tension adjustment knob on the side, and it's really responsive and easy to access. So overall, the reclining experience on this chair is really good in my opinion. When it comes to the armrest, Flexispot calls these 5D adjustable, but what really makes them unique is how they adjust. So you get your normal height adjustments, which are smooth, though I do wish they would go a little bit lower to get them out of the way when you're not using them. But the unique part of these armrests is that the rest of the adjustments are actually controlled by 2 rotation points. The armrest body swivels 240 degrees, basically all the way around, and the arm pads themselves have a full 360-degree rotation. Between these 2 rotation points, you can position the arms in pretty much any way you can think of. You can make them really wide for larger frames, super narrow for using mobile devices and controllers, and you have tons of flexibility for pivoting the arm pads to match the natural position of your arms. You can even rotate them all the way around if you need to get them out of the way. When it comes to the arm pads themselves, I find them really comfortable. They're essentially foam wrapped in a PU leather material that's really soft and have decent give to them, though they can kind of bottom out a little bit if you dig your elbows into them. I also like that they're really wide, giving you tons of surface area to work with, and they're very sturdy with minimal flex. The headrest on the C7 Morpher is 3D adjustable with 2 pivot point adjustments and an independent depth adjustment. You get good range of motion despite not having dedicated height adjustment. You can get it really high up using a combination of the pivot and depth adjustments, so it's still really good for tall people. It's made from the same mesh as the rest of the chair, so it feels really soft and it's comfortable to rest your head on. Now, one thing I don't like about this headrest design is how it's mounted to the chair. You can kind of see how it clamps onto the frame directly onto the mesh, which could potentially damage the mesh over time. The regular C7 Max doesn't have this issue, so it's strange that they went with this design on the C7 Morpher. The headrest is good in multiple positions, whether you like to have it up against the back of your head or right in the curve of your neck. The depth adjustment makes it really good whether you want to use it upright or in a reclined position, and it holds its position really well. Overall, it's a pretty decent headrest. Now at $649 for the foam seat version and $669 for the all mesh version, the C7 Morpher is definitely a premium office chair. You're definitely paying for the novelty and innovation, so it's not going to be the best value if you're not interested in those cutting edge features. I think this chair is a pretty good value for the price when you consider the premium build quality and innovative features. That said, I wouldn't consider most of these features essential, but rather just nice to haves. If you're strictly talking about comfort, I think the regular C7 Max is on par or even better in some ways with the seat, and that chair costs significantly less. Though the C7 Morpher does have better materials and build quality, so if those features are important to you, then this might be a good pick. The chair comes with a 10-year warranty, which is really good in the price range. There's also an optional footrest add-on for $40. It's a really good footrest overall, and it would have been nice if it was just included with the chair at this price point, but it's there if you want it. At this price point, this chair is definitely expensive, but if these innovative features appeal to you and you really want something that stands out, then the C7 Morpher could be worth the premium. So if you're interested in checking the Flexispot C7 Morpher out for yourself, I'll have links to it down below in the description.